You're still treated like you're in military boot camp for all intents and purposes, and technically a prison inmate. You know, there's rape, molestation. Like, we've seen our members get ripped in half and then just appear the next day because they throw them in the tanks. You know, they break you mentally, physically, emotionally. They have these stupid collars that back in the day were like that thick, that far of a band, and it had a green and a red light on. If you had your green light on, you were good. If you had your red light on, it's like 10,000 volts straight to your soul. I stayed longer because I don't like to conform a whole lot when people are trying to threaten me and, you know, just be jerks. So I've literally had my head cut off. I've been blown up. I've had, you know, weaponry, both guns and blades shoved through me at this camp. I have had physical abilities here, walking through objects, going incorporeal, basically, telepathy at random spurts, you know, being severely empathic, that sort of thing. When I'm activated, it gets a little bit more difficult. I have no problem of walking through walls or other objects. I can heal people pretty quickly. Just a general basis of energy manipulation for those who know what it is.
Oh.
So the DNA that I ended up getting spliced with, I have multiple. I have what most people would consider dragon, also draconian, Aryan, and two other what most people call elven species, just because they have pointy ears. That's human references, the only thing they can understand. You know, they're very ability oriented. So how old I am is very difficult because I do body swap, so I kind of die every other couple days. But as for my known
They
existence,
trained you out with clone bodies?
yeah, basically just ET combat. If you're taken prisoner and tortured, anything of that scenario, and trust me, they took very much great pleasure in the torturing part of us. They did not spare any expense at all. Like I said, I've had my limbs ripped off. I've been raped and molested in ways that you probably couldn't even find on YouTube. Yeah, so it was not nice. Like, we were tortured on a daily basis. They were basically training us to be soldiers and really more physical combat oriented, to be fighting ETs who had abilities.
Well, usually we find that people that were troublemakers out there are highly targeted here. Do you feel like that's the case for you? Like, I mean, has your life been really difficult? Like, almost you try to move forward and almost everything fails.
Let's put it this way. I take 2 steps forward and I don't get my legs kicked out from under me. They get chopped off and I have to regrow them. I literally can't do anything here. And anyone who actually has known me for a while understands this.
I wanted to mention this because Tucker Carlson and Shannon Bream, who are high up at Fox News, were also really high up in ICC. So, so when we do our service off world, they promise us to give us cushy jobs to take care of us when we come back. So, but that's if you're loyal and you do everything you're told. Now, the people that don't do that, I mean, I guess a lot of the super soldiers are rebellious because we're treated like crap.
Well, all I know is back in the day, they have switched management ever since a certain blonde-haired president came in, Trump. He changed a lot of things in that government section. So our collars came off. We had a lot more rights restored to us. We stopped being treated as slave. Before then, the cabal basically ran the whole thing. You know, that's why we were treated so bad. If you did not pass Section 13's agenda or anything, they literally sold you off to the space human trade. The place that I was on the Mars base, they literally threw me and 4 other kids from Section 13 in cages with the collars shipped us off, and the next thing I know, we ended up waking up on Mars base. The first things I ever had encounters with were literally the Dracos, not Draconians, Dracos. They had no wings. And they just treated us like absolute shit. I'm sorry for the swearing, but it is necessary. Literally, I say I body hop a lot because unless they threw me into a tank, I was literally utterly destroyed. After putting me in the room with the spider holographic BS, that took me about a week to figure out that thing wasn't real. Other torturous devices. They would put this like tiara crown on you with these wires coming out and just torture your mind like completely and utterly. And then when that really didn't happen, kind of, like some of them look like that. I'd honestly have to say, and I hate to use movie references or references in general, for Draconians, the movie, was it Jupiter Rising or Jupiter Ascending? The Dracos in there almost gave me PTSD. Literally, I almost like choked on my water when I was drinking it because it was so lifelike in resemblance. And I'm like, I didn't know if you wanted a picture of those guys or not, but like literally they are almost a very spitting image. They come in different colors and varieties and everything, but they're that massive and that built for the Draconians. The Dracos are a little bit smaller and a little bit thinner and just as gnarly.
Okay, so how long were you in this particular scenario, stuck in the cage with the Draco?
For when we first arrived.
Yeah, I guess maybe. Yeah, sure.
I was at that base for 3 weeks before they kicked me out and sent me back. They literally put me there just to try and break me, and I guess the end part kind of worked. The last event that they did, there was like 4 or 5 Dracos in a circle, and they stripped all my clothes off. I was maybe 9, 10 years old, and they shoved me in the room, and these guys ripped me apart and ate me, like, alive. Seriously. This was not mind control. It wasn't illusion. It was just pure everything. So I'm assuming they either threw me in a tank or I ended up getting a new body at that point in time, because I was out for like 2 days, and then I woke up in section 13 in one of the base areas on the floor in a cell. So
when you were on Mars or even in these projects, do you recall ever being put in front of a screen with subliminal messages popping up, and maybe a picture of a wolf or maybe the Queen of England or anything like that?
Sorry. It's funny. Nothing, just the Queen cracks me up in an agitated kind of way. But
did she participate in these projects?
I'm not entirely sure, nor am I at liberty to say. But yeah, so I have my theories, quote unquote, on some of them, but honestly, I have contracts, so I can't be breaking any of those.
Did they ever inject you with something to actually change your DNA, where you physically shapeshift from human to perhaps a reptilian or Draco type form?
Well, when I have my full powers, I have the ability to shapeshift, though I don't use it very often because you can get lost in yourself if you have that natural ability, and it's not one that I practice very often. For me, they never really had to do that, so I am not 100% sure.
Okay. All right. And by the way, shapeshifting, the reptilians call it transmorphing, is what, at least what I was told.